Hello, grade 12s. Welcome back. Just before the short break, we were still busy going over the summary of the different market structures. Remember, it's important that you understand how these different market structures work because you will be tested on this information. So just make sure that you have a good understanding of how these market structures work. So just before the break, we were discussing the market information. So we said that in a perfect competition, there is perfect knowledge. So buyers and sellers have full information on the product or the service that is offered by a business. Under monopolistic competition, you have incomplete information, so not all information is made available to the buyers and sellers, and the same applies under oligopoly. You still have incomplete information, but under a monopoly, you have perfect knowledge. In other words, complete information regarding the product or the service that you are acquiring from those businesses. Another important point to consider is the control over market price, because this is quite an important factor. So here there is no control because we work on the forces of supply and demand. So here we are price takers because price is determined by the factors or the forces of supply and demand. And then over here we have limited or some control. So you can influence the price formation in this market structure, but it's very limited. It's not to a large extent. So there could be a little bit of influence, but not as much as you would have over or under a monopoly. So here, under an oligopoly market, there is a substantial control, but not price setters. So they can control the pricing, but they do not set the pricing. Okay, where here we set the price. If you run a monopoly, then you are in a position to determine what the prices are going to be like because you are the individual business that provides the service under this particular market and you have no competition. So you don't have to look at the actions of your competitors in order to determine what the price will be. You can actually decide, so you get to determine what the price will be under these market conditions. And then moving on to profit and loss, we know under perfect competition, the short run equals to economic profit or economic loss, and the long run will give you your nominal profits. And then under the monopolistic market, we know that the short run you earn economic profit or loss, and in the long run you get nominal profits. And then over here, economic profit is in the long run, and then here economic profit is in the short run and also in the long run. Hence, this is considered to be quite a lucrative market. Hence, you have all these barriers that are put around this market because on the potential of profits that you could make if you enter that market space. So who makes the decisions? Who are the decision makers? Under perfect competition, decision has no influence on others. So your decision will not influence other businesses because you are all selling at market price. If you sell above market price, then you're going to lose customers. If you sell below market price, you are not going to maximize on your profits. So your decision will not influence others on this market. Over here, it's influenced by other competitors. Under monopolistic competition, your decision will influence other competitors because then they need to determine if they are going to follow your pricing strategy or they're going to stick to what they are charging. And then over or under the oligopoly, it's influenced by other competitors. So the decisions of other competitors would actually influence you because now you need to go back and review your pricing strategy and see if you need to alter your prices in order to to follow the trends that are set by your competitors. And then here it is independent because you've got a sole provider of the product, so they don't have competitors, so they make the decisions and they are not influenced about the trends that are going on in the market. So let's have some examples of such businesses. So under perfect competition, we said fresh produce will fall under this. And then here we have restaurants, petrol and oil. I did give you those examples earlier on. And then under monopoly, we said water and electricity supply. Eskom is considered to be the sole provider of electricity in South Africa, and therefore they dominate that market, and hence we call them a monopoly because they don't have competition. They determine their own prices. They can hike up prices in order to maximize profits, but we don't have alternatives as consumers. We can't say, well, I'm not going to use Eskom, I'm going to go and use Nightcom or something like that. So we don't have an alternative. We have to stick with them throughout. What about collusion? Can there be discussions to fix prices and to form a cartel? So we know that in other markets it's possible, but we have seen that it's very unsuccessful in the long run. So it's better not to be involved in that. And we know that in other countries it's considered to be illegal to fix prices, and you can pay a huge fine if you're found guilty of doing that. So we encourage companies to keep away from practicing that act. But companies still do it. You know, they don't take all these recommendations that are made. So under perfect competition, we know that it's not possible because here we work on the forces of supply and demand. So you can't have any collusion taking place. And also under monopolistic competition, it's not possible. It is possible under oligopoly because there you've got a few number of large corporations that actually can decide to come together in order to dominate or to create a monopoly in that market, and they can enter into discussions regarding pricing. So that could be a problem. And in a monopoly, it's not relevant because you don't have any competitors. So there's no point in you entering into discussions with other parties in order to influence price because you are the price setter and not the price taker in that market. Okay, so then we're going to talk about the technical efficiency and the allocative efficiency. Are they possible here? Under perfect competition, we know they are possible. And under monopolistic competition, we know they are closed. Possible under oligopoly, and also they are possible under monopoly. And then the allocative efficiency, they are also possible under the perfect competition. They are close to under a monopolistic competition, no under oligopoly, and no under monopoly. So they do not apply in these market structures. Okay, so that is a nice summary of what the market structures look like. What we do ask in most cases, we want to understand the number of firms that are involved in each market structure. So please be aware of that. That's almost like a most important criteria to be aware of, because you understanding the number of firms in each market structure will help you to understand the level of competition that exists in that particular market structure. Also, the entry guides you in terms of the barriers that one could expect or anticipate in a market. So if you know that there is free movement in terms of entry and exit, then you know that there aren't any restrictive barriers that are put into place in order to block out other businesses and other competitors. So it's important. And the nature of the product as well, because if you know that businesses are selling a homogeneous or identical product, that's going to help you, because there they have to stick to the market price because they are selling the same product. So if you decide to increase your product under these market conditions, you will lose out, or you will lose customers because they will go to other suppliers, because here everybody is supposed to be selling at the same price. So if you sell under that price, yes, you could attract more customers, but you're not going to maximize your profits. So it's best that you sell at market share. So it's important that you must understand the nature of product that is available in each of these market structures. And also information plays an important role, because if information is made available to all the buyers and sellers, that makes it easy for new competitors or for new businesses or firms to come into the market, because information is available regarding the market conditions. So you know what to expect, because businesses are skeptical to go into a market that they know that they're not going to do well in, because it's the unknown. So they're not willing to take that risk, because they don't have exclusive information that they can use to gain a competitive advantage over other businesses or firms. So information plays a very important role when you are looking at markets, because to explore or want to go into a market that you're not familiar with poses a whole lot of issues in terms of losses that could possibly be incurred in those market spaces. So it's important that you go into a market that you have full information on, and so that you can plan accordingly in terms of the factors of productions that you are going to need in that market space. Also, pricing is important as well. Do firms or businesses have that power to influence the price? Because if they come together and they form an agreement and they dominate the market space and they create their own monopoly, because they have now formed a bigger a corporation. And remember, in our previous lesson, we discussed the competition commission, that it is there to allow mergers to happen. And sometimes they may disagree and say, this merger will not go ahead because it's going to create unfairness in the market. Because now, if these three businesses decide to join forces and become this one large corporation, that is going to upset the competition pattern in the business, and hence those businesses are trying to form a monopoly, and then they're going to push out the small businesses and they're going to dominate the market space. They are the ones that are now going to determine the pricing, and not the different businesses that are involved in that sector or in that industry. So all this information is important when you are looking at market structures. Be able also to give examples of businesses or firms that fall under perfect competition, oligopoly, and monopoly, and so on. So it's important that you are able to provide examples as well when you are tested or examined around the market structures. And also, we looked at the decision making. How does the decision of business A actually affect you or influence the manner in which you conduct your own activity in the business? So all those things need to be looked at when you are making decisions, because you may find that you're making a decision to reduce your prices, and that decision is going to impact your competitors as well. Hence, we're trying to say we must avoid the price war that could possibly happen. Hence, we're saying to businesses, focus on the non-price competition, where you are not playing with the prices, but you are using the non-price measures in order to attract new customers to buy and support your business. So you can use advertising, you can use product recognition, product differentiation, and brand loyalty is the number one factor, because if you get to a point where you get your customers to be loyal to your brand and not to consider other alternatives, then you've got them at the right place. So use all those factors in your response. If you are asked to do an essay type question to discuss the various market conditions, do include this information. It would really help to enhance the quality of your answer. Well, let's sum it up officially. So what have we learned from this lesson? So in this lesson, we covered the following concepts. We learned about the monopolistic competition is essential in order to have a market economy, also called a free market or capitalism. So it's important because here you are allowing a number of businesses to participate in economic activity. Think of it like this. In order to choose what you buy, which is essential to having a free market, you must have choices. So choices create competition, and there are 4 forms of competition within a market economy. So it's important for us to have that choice as consumers and not to be compelled to support one individual firm that sells one product that is not differentiated, and we feel that we are stuck with what they have to offer. Okay, so let's move on to our next point. So what is perfect competition? So it exists when there are many small competitors carrying similar products, giving you plenty of options from which to choose. The opposite of this is a monopoly. So here you don't have competitors, in which there is only one option and therefore no choice for the consumer. The third form of competition and oligopoly exists when there are only a few large competitors in the market. And then the fourth and final form of competition is called your monopolistic competition, and we have been discussing that in our lesson. Well, that's a wrap from me, Uspiwe. I trust that you've enjoyed today's lesson and that you've learned so much from this lesson. From me, ngithi salani kahle.